Welcome back, Queers Qualms Podcast. This is
What's
Sijara Eubanks, co-host here.
Yasmin, what's up, y'all?
We're the Eubanks sisters, and welcome back to Queers and Qualms.
We're back, episode 6. Man, we're rolling.
All right, and we've got today, guys.
It's gonna be so much fun.
I don't know why we're so excited about this.
This is one of my favorite topics, because there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah, today we have,
and we talk about it so often, and I feel like every lesbian has dealt with something of the such that we're about to talk about. So,
toxicity.
With all the suspense,
dun, dun, dun.
What are we talking about today, Sarge?
Toxicity, even though it wasn't as suspenseful, I threw it in there. Toxicity, male toxicity. And we're going to talk a little bit about female toxicity. And it's our favorite topic because it's so prevalent in today's society and yet so unnecessary. And male toxicity especially has such an impact on the lesbian experience.
Absolutely.
And the 100%. Gay experience, or any
gay
of the
men, anyone within the LGBTQ
community
has experienced likely toxic masculinity.
And
yeah.
And it can go from like simple annoyances to like serious dangerous and violence. And we're just gonna try to ease our way through some of these toxicities, how to avoid them, what they are,
talk a little bit about some of our experiences with toxic masculinity, and even we're gonna get into some toxic femininity too. And just because, toxic masculinity, you don't have to be a man to be exerting toxic masculinity.
We'll
talk
about
get on
that
too. Like there's some people in the community who sometimes exert these characteristics. You don't have to be heterosexual to be toxic. Let's throw that away right now. Like,
for sure,
we're going to be talking about it through the rainbow and how being toxic in general affects not only your romantic relationships, but just like your overall experience as like a gay or straight person, really. So
female, all that good stuff. So just for ha-has, I just decided just now to Google toxic, like in the dictionary, toxic masculinity.
The actual definition of toxic masculinity. Let's hear it. What is toxic masculinity, Sarge?
A set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and on society as a whole. Wow, even
that
this
was
definition.
A lot of words.
First of
that
all,
was a lot of words strung together.
What toxic nigga wrote this definition? It has nothing to do with y'all. It's an impact on men.
Of behaviors that
I need to highlight this as having a negative impact on men.
Like toxic masculinity, like that was toxic. That definition right there was toxic. I don't like it.
We're gonna impact on people.
Yes,
it has a negative impact on people.
Because
and
I feel
on
like
society
toxic masculinity has more effects on women than it does on other men. Like other men exert toxic masculinity. Not all, but like a lot of men who have toxic traits, toxic masculinity traits, like, their boys aren't checking them for that shit. Like, it's how is that affecting them? It's affecting the women and the other people in their lives. So we're gonna talk about our definition.
These toxic niggas' feelings do be hurt. Like if
no, I mean there's definitely
you gotta be hurting on the inside to be super toxic. But come on,
like, we can't disregard male experiences, especially black men. I mean, they go through a lot of trauma, but it doesn't excuse the behavior. That a lot of the behavior that not only makes people uncomfortable, but quite literally puts people in danger.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah.
In last week's episode, we talked a bit about toxic masculinity in the locker room, about about gay men coming out in sports and things like that. So, toxic masculinity certainly has an impact on all people in society. Dictionary.com. Okay.
So what I think toxic masculinity is just like the exertion of like male ideas or characteristics in an event or circumstance where it is unnecessary. It's not asked or called for. And it's just like, it's that one guy who's always just like, has to be overly masculine, and that's like his like personality is that I'm a man's man, Like, I don't do none of that gay shit. Like, me and my boys, we only dap up. Nah, I don't hug. Like, nah, none of that shit. Like, and it's toxic masculinity doesn't always go hand in hand with homophobia, but it oftentimes does.
Yeah.
So, like,
and sexism. Like,
definitely sexism. It's the man who thinks that he's the shit and that he's always right and that, you know, he does no wrong. He's got to provide and care for his family, and he can do whatever he wants because he's doing that. And
even if they not, that's what makes them more toxic. Yeah. When they be acting that same way and you ain't providing for nobody, Negro, come on.
You're not providing.
And like, also like on the low level shit, like mansplaining to me is the first thing that comes to my mind for toxic masculinity. Like mansplaining, like you're, you know, like even just like little stuff. Like if I'm minding my business and I'm in AutoZone and I'm buying oil, like, I don't need you to explain to me what 5W10 is. I read the manual before I came in. Thanks.
Right.
Like,
unless
you know,
I asked you for your help, please disregard
just
yourself.
over-explaining things in your own manly way. Yeah. Like, are providing, what do they call it? The savior.
Yeah.
Like, unnecessary savior. I did not ask you to come to my rescue. I'm just trying to get a box of cereal down from the shelf.
And one of the craziest things, too, is that a lot of times men don't even realize that they're doing this. Like, it's been so normalized, socialized, and made okay for men to just insert themselves in like other people's business, and it's kind of annoying, and it throws us off just a little bit when talking about just being able to live our lives just as regular folk.
And the thing about like toxic masculinity is it doesn't always have to be a male person. Like I've seen toxic studs with expressing toxic masculinity bothers me so much. Yeah. I'm like we're like, it feels to me anti-feminist to be a stud and to be toxic and to express toxic masculinity. Yeah, like really. You're a female. Like why are you like bullying? Like trying too hard, like, stud on stud pissing contest. I feel like as the culture is growing, it doesn't happen as much. But like when I was in college and I was in my 20s, like having a stud bro wasn't a thing. Like,
yeah, because there was always competition.
Yeah, like what are we doing? I was like, I thought we were a group.
Yeah, like we need to be supporting each other. But,
I was like best friend. They were like skirt.
Yeah, and there are women who also like, I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously people can exert toxic masculinity, but there are women who like perpetuate this behavior and also who support this behavior. Mm-hmm. Like not only women, hetero women, but like just women in general who like, you know, are sometimes, I know men feel like they have to be overly masculine in certain situations because that's what they think, you know, their woman wants, or like, that's what they think women like. And honestly, I've never met anybody who like, you know, there are women who like, you know, a man's man, but these days I feel like, you know, I don't know that many people who do. Because women are starting to become a lot more just like independent and over the bullshit of niggas. And so it's like, you know.
And yeah, like for men who want to like, who want to like take care of, like who want to do things that are masculine, like raising their kids and being a good husband and being athletic. Like there's things that you can do that are very masculine and very healthy without
toxic.
Without being toxic. You can still be the man of the house without degrading the woman of the house. You can still be the king of your castle while still having a queen or another king in your or whatever. You know, you can still maintain that level of confidence and masculinity and protection without suffocation. And I think that's where that thin line starts to happen with like we've said, with hetero relationships and with feminine, masculine, same-sex relationships, where sometimes the masculine person in the relationship is just over masculinizing and heteronormatizing the relationship. Like, guys, I like to think I'm not that super toxic. Coming out for a stud, though, I was like, I've got to be, like, when I first came out, I was like, if I'm going to be a stud, I've got to be as manly as possible. And I was like, this is exhausting.
I mean, everyone goes through that, and I think it's funny because as the more masculine of your relationship, it's almost expected that you carry the burdens of what a man would do in a relationship. But one of the best parts of being a lesbian is that there are no men in this relationship, and you know, you can create those roles or boundaries or whatever it is that you want to do, and no one's sitting here saying that like having roles within your relationship, whether they're more masculine, neutral, or feminine, is a bad thing. Like, everyone plays their roles in a relationship. It's just like, you know, for me, a toxic nigga is someone who's overstepping boundaries, is not understanding like kind of their place, and like most of the time it just be the most random niggas, the most
always
random niggas that you don't even know, never even met, have never even spoken to, who want to come and tell you their opinion on the way you're living your life.
Microaggressions,
and especially being a mask presenting lesbian. So how does, let's talk a little bit about how does toxic masculinity have negative effects on the LGBTQ community specifically?
Well, I mean, the first thing I could think of is violence on trans people. For like, on the most serious note, like from the level of severity, is the violence on the trans community is insane. Like, we can talk about that. We can have a whole podcast about that, I'm sure. And then all the way to the microaggressions, where you see a lot of female relationships, lesbian relationships, where strange men need to insert themselves. And that can be really physically dangerous as well. Like, extremely. Like, you know, every lesbian on here, I'm telling you, has a story about being out on the street, at a restaurant, at the club, walking down the street, minding your business with your girl, and having some dude say something as minor as like, oh, hey, look at y'all need a third, to something as violent as physically like assaulting the stud for you want to be one of us, or grabbing the femme up because you need a D in your life. Like, I mean, we can get, like, I've heard and seen and experienced such graphic stories with men feeling like they need to fix like literally insert yourself into our life. Like, it's get out.
Male privilege. It's the male privilege. And especially, like, I don't want to sit here and rag on black men, but that's mostly who I have experience with, being like grew up in a predominantly black community. So, but like, black men have this sort of complex, not all, but a lot of black men have this sort of complex, like, you know, they're trying to find their place in society, their superiority, almost, I want to say. As a man, they're like, you know, they're on a higher of a totem pole than women, right? But they're still black, so they still face a lot of different, like, discriminations based off that. And so I feel like a lot of time you see black men really leaning into that manly man situation, and like, because for many reasons, there's a lot of different reasons why that's the case, and a lot of it comes from just generational trauma, slavery, and a lot of different stuff. But it's still a problem. And when, you know, you have these black men who feel like they need somebody to be superior over, they need to insert their power over somebody, and the only people technically below black men are who? Black women. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, only other ones below
the brunt of like toxic masculinity, and the danger of like how that affects us.
It does. And a lot of hetero black women, like, I feel bad. Like, I don't know if I should. I mean, but I do. I be feeling bad because they be loving they black men. Anyway, they be loving they black men, and they be looking for they, like, not that the king isn't out there, not that things aren't changing and growing, but sometimes I feel like, and even maybe not as heterosexual, because we love our fathers and our brother, you know, we love the black men in our lives, and sometimes you see some of these black men struggle with their place in society because of that generational trauma, and you want to be like, you know, sometimes I stand up here and be like, yo, fuck these niggas, and sometimes, like, you know, a man that's close to you, I think we're blessed to have such. Like, a lot of the men in our family are not toxic. And I'd be like, we hit some kind of jackpot. I don't know. I'd be asking, like, Sherelle and our aunties, like, how y'all raise these brothers? Because, you know, we're lucky enough to have brothers that are open to the experience and sympathetic and caring and, protective in a way that's healthy, you know? So sometimes, you know, I feel like the black relationship is sort of falling apart because black women still love the black men out here, and some of the brothers are still just lost, man. Still living that.
Like the millennial and Gen Z, like, generation, you can see more conversations happening between men, which I like. Because, you know, there's one thing for women to be like, you're toxic. Niggas are going to be like, oh, whatever. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, like, a lot of times hearing it from, like, niggas. And that's why I always say, like, you know, if the guys obviously have other guy friends, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a lot of times where you need to be checking your dudes for the behavior and the shit that you see them doing. Like, if you see your man's talking dirty to his girl in public or whatever the situation is, and you think that that's not great behavior, like, you should be the first person to be telling your mans to be like, look, man, you need to chill. I don't think you handle that situation very well. Yeah. And I think we're seeing a little bit more accountability. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, like, you know, social media, niggas not wanting to be embarrassed and just like that. But I mean, growth as a generation.
As a people, you know, I love to see it now. Sometimes you're on TikTok and you see brothers like, you know, acting masculine in a way that's healthy. Yeah. That's like checking they other dudes on crazy stuff, treating a woman with respect, listening. Yeah.
Women to be their queen.
To be who they are on their own as individuals. Like, I love to see it. I love when I see. And now you're starting to see more celebrity figures. Like, I'm not a super big fan of Charlemagne the God, but he talks a lot about black men's mental health. He talks, you know, you start to see more like rappers. He did. Oh, it took a long while. Are you kidding me?
Craziest toxic shit.
When he was on that MTV show, no, Shy took forever to get there. But, you know, at least he's on the radio trying.
It's all about growth.
I be seeing him now. He one of them, like, although Charlemagne the God, he wanted them to be like, toxic masculinity hurts men too. He's that kind of dude. But he's the first example off the top of my head. But I feel like I want to say, like, The Game, or I feel like there's other rappers out there that are starting to be like, hey, brothers, take care of yourself. But it's not The Game. But there's someone else.
There's someone like The Game.
There's some... I don't know anybody who raps anymore.
Yeah. And as, like, a mask-presenting woman who identifies with the LGBTQ community, I can just think about, like, you know, building my friendship and my community. I kind of know a lot of guys who are in touch with their, like, I don't even want to say, like, feminine side, because it's not really that. It's just they know how to communicate their feelings, and kind of, you know, we're moving more towards being a more inclusive society in general. And I feel blessed, like you said, to be able to surround myself by a lot of men who aren't toxic. And so I think the moral of, like, the story, to put it as, you know, simple as possible, is hold yourself accountable, hold your friends accountable, and if you don't know if your behavior is toxic, I'm sure you could ask someone and they will let you know. Like, because, you know, again, I know we've been ragging on men for a couple minutes now, but shit, we're about to talk about toxic femininity.
I was just gonna say, but, you know, some of y'all can help by starting by raising your kids less toxic. We're gonna go there. Yikes. No, I am. No, no, I mean, men are taking accountability, and we as black women now, like, or at least as moms, and people in, I think one of the first places to start is, look, I don't have a bunch of kids. I ain't gonna try to tell everybody how to raise them. I got one daughter. I don't even have a son. But I feel like it does start at home.
Oh, for sure.
Like some of that stuff, like, I'm gonna get straight into an example. We were, you know, if you were listening to last week, me and Yasmin, or a bunch of we participate in martial arts all the time. So we were out somewhere. I won't even say where we were, just in case the lady out there listening. We saw this young kid get knocked out in a kickboxing tournament. He had to be like 14, 15.
Very young.
Brother got knocked out, and it was illegal too, so he wasn't even supposed to get knocked out. So he was like flat out. I'm talking about hands in the air,
above, laid out like a pancake.
Like lift his legs up, get this kid some smelling salt. Probably needs to be seen by a doctor for sure. So he's out cold. His mother comes, or his mother, or aunt, or whoever this woman was. She wasn't an athlete.
Someone who knew him.
She was not a coach or an athlete. Running up to the side of the ring where parents ain't even supposed to be anyway. screaming, get up now, you gotta be tough. I'm like, tough, lady? This kid is unconscious. There's nothing tough. He's in La La Land. He's last week. Like, it's nothing about tough. And that lady reverberated to me, like, this kid's probably growing up. I mean, I don't know anything about this family, but that's just a slight sliver of an example of how a woman can breed a toxicity sometimes, because he's gonna be like, man, I'm weak because I got knocked out, or I got it tough. And he did. When he finally came to, he tried to pop right up, and he was all swirling around. They had to catch him.
Fell again.
Yeah, and like, and his mother's like, yeah, like you know, like, is she telling him to go make, like, you know, the first thing I thought was like, he probably gotta get a job now. He the man of the house now. You know, you let us all down, like. You know, stuff like that, I feel like, starts at home.
Definitely. And, you know, too, like, the relationships between mothers and sons, like, you know, mamas love their baby boys. And that's just, like, you know, it's a different relationship the way a mother has with their son than they do with their daughter. That's just the reality of the situation. And I do think, and I've seen instances where, you know, mothers and female caregivers to men will make excuses for their behavior, and you know, it's boys will be boys rather than correcting the behavior as it is emerging. Because sure, like, that excuse is old as, you know, dust. Boys will be boys. That's not an excuse. Like, as a kid, you know, we need to be teaching our young men to be compassionate and to know consent. And it's like, you know, if we are, you know, if the kid's on the playground and he pushes another kid, like, it's not boys will be boys. It's teach, you know, take that behavior.
Yeah, that's
teach them something, because then, okay, you might think it's innocent now, but if they continue to get away with that behavior as they're growing up, they're gonna think that, you know, that stuff is okay, and it's gonna translate into their adult life, you know, and you see a lot of instances of, like, domestic abuse over toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And so it, you know, it
toxic
makes
femininity.
everybody's lives a little bit better when, you know, you're communicating with your children. Doesn't matter the gender of the child. Like, right from wrong should not have gender lines. You know, it's right, there's something right, there's something wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of men get away with stuff just by being men.
Yeah, and I think it's like we were mentioning, like, which is like Yasmin's buzzword for the week, which I thought was fun, just toxic femininity. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes these two can clash and can create a little snowball effect. You know,
The question is, like, is toxic femininity like a branch of toxic masculinity, or is it like its own entity? You know what I'm saying? Because would there be toxic femininity if it wasn't toxic masculinity?
Chicken or the egg, I don't know.
Yeah, like, but what is toxic femininity? Is there an official definition even for that?
Funny you should ask. I was just Googling again, and there is not. It is not. Toxic femininity is not located in dictionary.com.
Which is really interesting. Because,
very interesting.
I mean, again, those gender lines, like, humans can be toxic, and toxic femininity does look different and might have a different effect on people around you, but it is a thing, and it should be talked about. Like,
for sure.
And one of the things that we, like, when drafting this episode that I was thinking about was like toxic femininity towards other women, and then toxic femininity in regards to, like, when it comes to men. Because, like, we just talked about this whole thing about toxic masculinity mostly affecting women, right? But toxic femininity affects women and men. It's almost worse.
Ooh, interesting.
In a way.
I honestly, I want to say it's worse because, and I don't know if this is fair to say, but we're here to, like, talk about our feelings and opinions, right?
These are all opinions.
But I almost hold not women to a higher standard, but I feel like I expect men to do raggedy shit. Like, like, hit this nigga, go. No, you need to account for themselves. But I'd be like, par for the course. Yeah, let's fix this. You know, but when women are like, you know, sometimes I'm like, ladies, like, we're so much smarter than that. Like, I feel like women should always be on the same team. Like, I'll come to a woman's defense, and other black people get mad at me. Before I'll come to, like, I almost feel like I'm a woman almost before being a black person.
Why do we have to choose, man? That's
we should not. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. But like for me, like I feel like ladies should always be on the same team. And when I feel like there's female on female like pissing contests, or like when you see, like, I hate to bring it back to racism, but when you see in the lesbian environment, like a gay white woman like discriminating against like a black gay woman, like, yo, we on the same team, like, come on. And so I sometimes I see toxic femininity, I'm like, come on, girl, you gotta do better. Like, no, I have higher expectations for us. Like, we can definitely do better, much quicker.
And a lot of times, like I said before, toxic femininity is rooted out of, like, not directly like toxic masculinity, but a lot of times toxic femininity is rooted out of trying to compete over male attention. And it's just, it blows my fucking mind. It blows my mind.
Good point.
Right? Because niggas will literally bite over anything, and ladies, you don't have to try that hard. I don't know if we know that.
Power of the P. They told us this. We have the power.
Yeah, but you see a lot of times, you know, women pit against each other over, you know, trying to have the, you know, attention of men. One thing I never understood was, like, you know, these stories about women finding their man cheating and beating up the girl that they're cheating.
Never
like,
understand.
Addressing the root of the problem. You're beating up some poor girl who may not have even known.
Half the time she don't know.
And now we got girls beefing. I can't tell you how many friendships I've seen fall apart over a nigga who wasn't even relevant.
Bro, he still live with his mom.
Yeah, and it's just like, that is the part that really is disheartening to me, because like you said, I do feel like as women we should be, you know, we should be supporting one another. But, you know, as a black gay woman, you kind of are put in a position where a lot of times you have to choose between your womanhood and your blackness. And that is something that, you know, I've kind of had to work through and struggle through for a long time. Like, you know, for a long time, I identified as black first. Like, I identified as black. I grew up in like, you know, around a bunch of black people. I was really familiar with my black culture, and I identified as black until, like, and I was like, you know, we're a black community, we're together and everything like that, until, like, literally being violated and assaulted by black men. And then I'm kind of like, well, and then when it's time to march for our black men getting shot up by the police, you know, we out there, right? Us black women out there holding our men down. But when it's time to talk about women's rights, black women's rights in particular, trans women's rights, our black men are somehow nowhere to be found.
Yeah, definitely not from trans rights.
And it's like, you know, again, I don't want to be sitting this whole episode ragging on black men, because, you know, I mean, we trying to understand. We try to understand. But, like, you know, I'm not a black man, so I don't know the experience. But I do know how I feel as a black woman. And sometimes, I can't say this is all the time, but sometimes we feel like we on our own. Like, we got to ride for us. And so, and it's disheartening because, you know, I feel like most of the time, black women are going to hold their black men down. Doesn't matter whether you're gay, straight, trans, pan, whatever. Like, I feel like that's just in black our women, DNA. It's woven into our history, our ancestry, our bloodlines. Yeah. And so
most of us I'd be like, look, if it ain't one of my brothers or my dad or my uncles, I'd be like, oh. So when it's funny, like, that's a very interesting take on toxic femininity, because in preparation for this podcast, I just saw Toxic Femininity, Let's Talk, and you gave an interesting perspective. But the first thing I thought, like, off the rip, the first thing that popped in my head was, like, toxic chicks in a relationship. So that's the first thing I thought. Man. So you gave me a very interesting take, but that's the first thing I thought. I was like, the first thing I thought is that girl that... Did we get in there? The first thing I thought is, like, oh, the chick that want to beat up her man with...
Look, that's a whole nother...
Nigga, where you been? Let me smell your dick.
To the other side of toxic femininity is crazy bitches. Crazy bitches.
The first thing I thought was crazy bitches. Yes. Let me smell your dick. That's the first right? This is the baby boy episode because them two motherfuckers was the perfect example of I thought, so that's the first thing I thought, like crazy girls that like, even if your partner ain't doing nothing, like, let me see your phone, where you been, like, you cheating on me, like spending your cat, like, you gotta buy me purses for love, like, that's the first kind of.
And toxic brings out toxic, you know what I'm saying?
In terms of
like a lot, like I said,
relationships are red flags.
Shaking hands, right? So toxic femininity often brings out niggas who are like, man, whatever, like, now I want to be toxic because you over here fucking clocking me every minute.
Bruh.
Yo, there are some crazy girls out there, yo. And, like, I think the most I've seen it is just, like, you know, you see the videos of people, like smashing dudes' cars in. I've seen a video of a girl fucking herself up trying to, like, gasoline.
Oh, that video is hilarious. And she almost blew her face off. Bro, we gotta find the link. I'm writing that down. Like, we're gonna put that link in. You gotta watch that.
Like, and you know, I don't see it as much in same-sex relationships, but that doesn't mean that that's not true. I just don't see it.
No, I think
that's because you just don't see.
What, like, just toxic both ways?
Yeah.
Girl, have you met me?
Oh yeah. Ooh, damn. You're a great example.
I'm a fantastic example. I'm gonna keep it real with the people. I was in a bad relationship for like 5 years with another woman, and it is that toxic goes back and forth. I never considered myself to be toxic or a victim of domestic violence, but that verbal abuse is valid,
and that's a perfect example of saying that toxicity brings out other toxic behaviors, because I know you as the most like loving, caring, like joking, really, and like, you know, I saw a really hurt and distraught side of you that like, I don't like to see.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Like, you know,
I think domestic violence in same-sex relationships is very much a thing and very much overlooked. And a lot of the times, this person that I was in a relationship with, there were times early on where we almost wanted help, but was so overlooked by being in the same-sex relationship. Or like once it got real deep and we were just in this toxic relationship, it was always like, well, y'all are lesbians and girls fight and that's what it is. And it was like, no, we need it like
domestic violence. Like it's still domestic violence. The playing field is a little even just because you're both women.
But I think that's the stereotype. And I think sometimes like, yo, it'd be a joke. Like, it's kind of a joke on TikTok, but it'd be like when you're like studs getting beat up by their girlfriends. Like, bruh, like, no, like look, ladies, just because we're studs don't mean you can fight us. Like, or vice versa. Just because you a stud does not mean you should fight. Like, no, stop. No, we should not be fighting each other. And we should not be verbally, like, and this is not just physical, but like verbal shit. Like, you know, it gets bad.
To that place with your partner in general, you gotta know that it's time to. It's either time to hang up the towel or it's time to find some assistance, some help. You know, like, and I feel like most people aren't inherently toxic. You know, it's behaviors and instances that bring that stuff out of you. So, like, you gotta address the root of the problem.
Yeah,
like,
and it can start to snowball. It really can quickly. And, like, because it started off with, like, you've been out cheating on me. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm at the gym. But that's not how I talk, you know? Like, I have never in my life.
I'm gonna be accused of cheating. I might as well be goddamn cheating.
I would be like, you know, actually got there almost. Like, I'm gonna find me a side piece if you're gonna keep telling me that shit. But like, that's not me. Like, you know, and that's how,
where the trust just gets like tossed away. It's like, why be faithful in this relationship? Why be healthy if my partner is automatically gonna assume that I'm doing some shit that I'm not doing? And so that's just another level of this relationship toxicity within relationships.
As a person, don't think that, because I thought the same thing. Well, if I'm gonna be here, I might as well do what I'm accused of. No, get out. Get out.
Don't let anybody change your character.
Time to get out.
And that's just like in general.
And we're not
whatever.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
You're in. Don't let anybody change your character.
And if you find yourself changing, and look for those this probably should have been a little bit more in the red flags, but look for those little bit of signs. Like, if you're not talking to your friends and family the same, if you're not doing the same types of things that you used to do before you got in that relationship, if you find yourself doing things that you would normally do specifically for that person, even if it's tiny stuff, like, those are things that can add up. And on some serious tip, as a matter of fact, that we're talking about it, we'll put some hotlines and some links and stuff on the podcast, and reach out to us. I've had people reach out to me when I got out of my last relationship, like I didn't know someone like you could be in a verbally abusive relationship like that, or in a situation like that. Really good at hiding it. Yeah, so DM us. We're not experts, but if you want just somewhere to get some stuff off your chest, like I've had women DM me and I've been like, girl, I'm not no expert, but this is what I did. Hold your head up, like different types of things, like get out of there. But any resources that we can provide, we'll throw some links up. But girl, get out of there. Yeah. Whether and that's the thing. I think men too. Like I've had some men tell me that like gay men beat each other up. Like I don't know if this is true. I don't know that specific. I don't know any, but I heard in the gay men experience, domestic violence is pretty serious too. Yeah.
In general, let's just not be toxic. I know it's so much easier said than like done, but I feel like my best advice is the more you know yourself and how you communicate what you want in a relationship, the better you are able to search for that and not have to exert these toxic traits in order to feel like you have to be in a relationship.
Yeah. So get some help, guys. It's out there. Better help is expensive, but at least call some hotlines, talk to your friends, and do what you can. But there are softer examples that women sometimes DM me about toxicity, either same sex, either female or male toxicity, and dealing with it sometimes on a day-to-day basis is something that's like dealing with toxic masculinity or toxic femininity in the street, like a stranger
who exerts these behaviors. Like, how do you deal with it? Because I just know, for me, I don't know if some of y'all picked up on this, but I'm a hothead. Right, and I'm a hothead very specifically when it comes to niggas, when it comes to men in my space, my business, anything having to do with a man that is exerting toxic, any behaviors. Like, I'm the lesbian. I have male friends, obviously, but like, for some reason, niggas love trying me. They love trying me, specifically when I'm out hanging with my girls, minding my business, is when the time where niggas love to try me. And I'm not saying that this is the best way to handle it, but I'm a hothead and I often nearly get into physical altercations with big ass grown men over just them violating my space, who I am, wanting to insert their opinion on the way that I live my life. And, I've kind of, as a writer, I write poetry, so I write a lot about it, but it doesn't feel as satisfying, especially for me being someone who knows how to fight. I have to pull myself back at times. I really have to be like, look, if I started with all-out brawl in the middle of the street with a grown-ass man, I might not win. But emotionally, I'm also, I'm like, bro, you got one more second to do some wild shit, and I might be throwing hands right here. And I've been working on it, y'all. I've been working on tempering my anger. But a lot of it has to, is prompted. Mm-hmm. I really be minding my business. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this right now. I have a specific issue with security guards.
Oh, my God.
Security guards are the most toxic niggas
on the face
I've ever
of this planet.
On the face of the earth. And, really be minding my business with my girls. And the next thing you know, you let everybody in, but you got a problem with me.
Oh, man.
You got a problem. You don't have access to my body.
In the same,
don't have access to my mind. And I make sure you know it. Mm-hmm. And that's what niggas hate the most. I think it's the fact that I make sure that they know that they don't have access to me in any type of way. And it makes them almost even try harder to get that from me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's when shit turns dangerous. And we talk about that's when shit turns dangerous. Literal physical altercations where I have had to push men off of me.
Yeah.
Physically get away from me.
Yeah. I mean, when women ask me, especially being a martial artist, being a fighter, I've had women come up to me and be like, "Oh, I bet you don't have any problems. You just fuck dudes up in the face." I'm like, the most problems, because when you're a woman who has confidence, no matter whether that confidence leans more feminine or more masculine, there's there's someone else that's not as confident as you.
They hate it or they love it. that can be scary too.
Yeah. Oh my God, it is scarier when they love it. They be like, "Oh, girl." I'm like, "No, sir, please get away from me. I'm not flattered."
Like, oh yeah, beat me up, baby.
I love a strong woman. Like, good for you. Like, gross.
Who asked?
Gross. So gross. But like security guards. But when women legit be like, "What should I do? Should I take a self-defense course?" Blah blah. Look, this is gonna be controversial. In any case that you can, get the fuck away.
Yeah.
Women are like, you don't stand there fight. No, please leave. I don't like if I get an inkling of a man about to come say something like it looks like it's gonna turn up, I'm leaving. I'm grabbing Shorty's hand that I'm with. We're leaving. Yeah. Because things can escalate. I'm a little bit older. I'm paranoid. I seen some things. I went to Morgan State, y'all. So I went to Baltimore. I seen some things happen to studs. Oh, which one? Okay, so the brief one, I seen a stud get punched in her face by a football player for him hitting on her girl. Like, I'm talking about a linebacker dude. Like, and this is like a little stud. Like, just like, this is a female. At the end of the day, like, at the end of the day, male or female.
Like, you want to act like a man. I'm going to treat you
like
a man.
So in it, like, and I hadn't come out all the way. So I was kind of like in my little in between. Like, they told me, they was like, you a lesbian now. You got to pick a side. And I was like, what's that mean? They was like, you going to be a femme or a stud? I was like, I don't know. So I was just, I was out there doing my thing. I was like, I think I'm going to try to stud shit out. I had my extra baggy pants on. I was out with the bros, right? Bro, this football player was like trying to dance or hit on this girl. And she's like, ew, like she taking her hand back, like, ew, nigga, don't touch. And so the stud came in like mad aggressive, like in between of the two, like, hey, yo, back up, like that's my girl. And he was like, I don't give a fuck, I take both of y'all down. I was like, oh, they got to the arguing, bong, right in like doof, like in like whoa, like yo, I ran. I got no. This is. I mean, also I was in Baltimore. I've seen like once fights start, like I didn't know them. I didn't even know her, like, specifically. Like, she wasn't with us. And, once the fight start, like, you gotta go anyway. Yeah. So I was like, nah, get the fuck out of here. I've seen, like, I seen a dude, me and my shorty, this was 2 feminine girls was out. Me and my girls was out. And we were walking to our cars after the club let out. And this dude was in a car with his window down trying to holler at my friend. She's like, ew, nigga, you ugly. Like, in his face, like, you are ugly, ew. Like, how dare you even. And he didn't do nothing, like, specifically disrespectful. He was on some, like, hey, mommy, you hot. Come over here, talk to me real quick. Like, which in and of itself, I think is catcalling, which is toxic. So, whatever, however you want to look at that. He catcalled her. And she cocked her little neck, was like, you ugly. He reached out, grabbed her by her arm, and zoomed the car up. And I'm like, yo, like, it's funny now, yo, but my fucking heart dropped. Yeah. I thought he was like, where is he going to drag her to? So he dragged her a couple of feet. She stumbled, like, shit, her elbows was all fucked up. But damn, that's an assault, no?
I mean, all jokes aside, we're laughing at this story. Your friend made it out alive, and there's a lot of people who have not. For that specific reason, turning down men just
it's dangerous.
You can turn down, and you can turn down a man as respectfully or disrespectfully as you want, because that is your prerogative. But it can be dangerous.
Yeah, I try to.
It can be dangerous saying no to a man.
It can be.
Shouldn't be.
That
really blows my mind.
Really blows my mind. And I try to, like, I feel almost like I feel like an asshole offering said advice, which is ignore the nigga and leave as quickly as possible. But I'm being.
That's for the safety of.
Yeah, it's for the safety. Like, life, I let men down gently, and like I also try. Like, here's another thing too, but you got to be kind of confident in it.
Big dick them.
I like to mentally out big dick them. My favorite Mike Tyson quote is the art of the skullduggery. I love when I can out like. Mentally fence a nigga. I love it. Yo, that's my favorite. That can be dangerous too, but you gotta do it.
Get them too mad,
so look, one more. I got a security guard story for you. We was at Summer Jam when Cardi B was headlining. Oh my god. Yes. Like, talk about lit. So a storm had come by and they had to stop the concert before Cardi came. Everyone had to leave. And so people already like the intensity in the bruh, like, we Cardi B. We was gonna lose our mind for Cardi. I came here for Cardi. I don't give a fuck about the rest of this show. And Cardi had to come on and be like, y'all, I need y'all for 20 minutes to relax. we gotta let these clouds pass so I can do my set. I'm gonna perform for y'all tonight. We was like, okay, bet. We'll do it for Cardi. So everybody left. And so we were in like this little tunnel. And they had started to let everybody back in to start the show. There was a line of security guards where we were, and they weren't letting this particular horde of group of people that I was in back into the thing. And so we're like, look, they letting people in, blah, blah. I'm with my shorty. I'm like, yo, play it cool. Because I could see this line of security guards getting their shoulders out. They started lining up like they a SWAT team. Like, first of all, security.
Really think they some police officers.
You are not. So you can see them starting to puff their chest out and getting big. So there's a stud, like maybe 2 or 3 people down from me and her girls, me and my shorty at the time. So look, stud starts getting on some like shit like, hey yo, we going.
Yeah, like come on now.
Like, you know, because the whole crowd started to push.
Yeah.
And so when the crowd's pushing, the security guards get mad at the first row of people. Like you don't
can
see the 300 people
Yeah.
right here, right? Like, you don't see this mass. And so the stud kind of was like, she found a little opening and tried to slip through. Security guard, like, pushes her back. Yo, get the fuck back. And she starts to, like, go, like, swing. I grab her. Ayo.
No.
I swung her because the first thing, I'm selfish. I'm not going to see Cardi B tonight. No. And I'm going to be pissed. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm going to see Cardi. I jumped in front of her. So look, I said, hey, Ma, chill. And she was like, bruh. I said, you know how men are. They're sensitive. This brother here feels like he has an important job to do. Let's let my man. I looked at him. I said, you know what? I could tell you take your job real seriously. We're going to let you do your thing, okay? We just want to see Cardi. So you and all your boys don't have to get all too roughed up.
No.
Ain't that right, ladies? Let these men do their job.
Can we please?
Let these men do their job. This nigga... This nigga looked at me like, I said, now, if we hit him, he's going to jump us. So if you're going to hit us, you're going to have to lead. And he looked at his boys, he looked at security guard, and I was like, I fucking dare you now. Because now
300 of us and there's 12 of you.
And now, like, now you know if anything pops off, we know you started it.
Yeah.
So he looked around, they was all like, they was pissed, because nothing you could do. You could see, and you could tell it was the one little angry nigga. His little supervisor came by and was like, all right, let him through. He was like, he was steaming. I was like, have a good day, brother. Have a good one. And we went and saw Cardi. Like, fuck. Like, shit like that, to me, that was just kind of a long story. But that, to me, is an example of the skullduggery. But you have to kind of be... It kind of puts you in a place that's still kind of dangerous. Yeah. And it's still...
Because niggas, like, when they're hurt, man, you don't know what they gonna do.
Because he could have called my bluff and decked us all. He's like, all right, bitch, let's go.
Well, damn. Yeah. I've definitely been in interesting situations. And it's funny because it's always kind of... A lot of the times, you know, a man will see a masculine girl with a more feminine girl, and you know, they'll do one of two things. They'll completely ignore your presence and pretend like you don't even exist at all, which is another like disrespectful at best. Like I've been around like, you know, groups, you know, I run with bad bitches, so it's me and all my bad bitches, right? And so it'll be niggas come up, will introduce himself to everybody, and then look at me and be like, anyway. And I'm like, no, like, you're not even gonna acknowledge the fact that I'm a person, a human being. You don't have to talk to me, you don't gotta go smack at me. That's not, but hello, like, acknowledge the fact that I exist.
Hello.
Like, or, so that they'll do that, or, you know, it'll be, you know, they'll try to size you up. I can't tell you how many times a nigga gets offended, or just, you know, feeling some type of way that, oh man, like, you know, she kind of, I don't know, strong, whatever the fuck they think about.
Oh, sizing you up for sure.
Kind of cute, you know. They start getting like, I don't know, don't take my girl, huh? Like, that's not,
okay.
like it's not funny in that sense. Or, you know, they'll try to pull whose dick is bigger and try to, you know, literally put themselves in physical like space with you, and like it's like you said, there's not much you can do in that situation. One. Because security guards don't, like, there's something just about security. They don't give a fuck.
In their
like,
game.
A security guard will fucking, clock anybody. And all of their men will jump in on this shit. So, like, you know, but I remember just, you know, not talking about, like, moving away from security guards. Not just normalized niggas. I remember being out a couple weeks ago. We're at the MGM Grand. I'm with my girl. We're dancing, you know, having a good time, minding our business. And this, like, 60-year-old man with the longest gray goatee. He's a black dude.
Oh.
He comes up staring like this. The hardest stare I've ever seen in my life. Man's is like watched us from one side of the room to the other, and I know he's not looking at me,
right?
Looking for me. I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna say nothing because if you said something to every nigga that
we couldn't get anywhere.
We would be like fucking. We would never go anywhere. Like,
yeah.
Literally. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna just let it rock. But he comes up to us like and doesn't say anything. Is continuing to just stare at the girl who I'm with down, and she's starting to look at me, getting uncomfortable. And I'm like, all right, now like. You got about one more second before I say something because now you're making my girl uncomfortable and like
right.
we can't stand for that.
Right.
So I turn around and I'm like, "Can we help you? Is there something? Would you like to say something? Like what's going on? Can we help you?" And he turns his head and he looks at me like I'm fucking crazy, and he's like, "Don't be scared." I was like, "Whoa." I was like, you're literally scaring me.
But you're
scary.
acting like a stalker.
So literally, I responded. I said, "Don't be scary." And he looks at me like I have 3 heads, because he's not worried about me. He's looking at the girl I'm with, and little does he know, like we came together, and so now he's over here. He's like, she knows what's going on, and I was like, all right.
No, brother, give it the time.
I was like, all right. First of all, I haven't even had my first drink yet. I'm too sober for this.
Right. Let's get out of here.
Let's exit. Let's go to a different vicinity. But like, it takes a lot of swallowing your own pride. And
yeah, so much.
Because when I was in college, I would that's probably not how I would react to that situation. I would have been like, nah, bro, like she with me, what's up? Like, and get confrontational with it. But I just realized that now I gotta worry about my own safety. Because
you do.
Niggas are getting crazier out here. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like,
look, and I also feel like look, some women don't like this. I took, look, if you can carry. And a lot of people feel like that's not. Oh, I can't carry a weapon. I think black women should be, if it's legal in your state, you should go get a permit to purchase. You should go take a real course in gun safety, gun handling. Really know how to use it. Know the rules of your state. Get you a cute little bag. And also, inside that cute little bag, on your keychain, don't get one of them cute little Amazon pink maces. Get you a real heavy-duty mace. And push come to shove, Mason sauce a nigga. And a lot of women are like, oh, I could never, blah, 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 blah. My first thing, I'm always going to leave. Because I don't got time for that. But some people be following you. In which case, I think if you are legally allowed to, black women should. All women. If it's legal, get you a knife, get you a mace, get you a little pew pew.
Yeah. I was carrying a taser, and I realized that that's not legal almost anywhere.
No, you gotta know what's legal. Please learn what's legal. This is not legal advice. Please consult. Disclaimer. Please consult your local laws. Yeah. Tasers are usually, and then too, like. A lot of women think like, oh, I have a gun, I'm about to get in a shootout. No, the gun is about pew pew split. Yeah, everything is designed to be split at the end. I used to teach a lot of self-defense classes. I'm a martial arts. Women come up to me all the time. How do I fight off an intruder? As a girl, you run like all hell. Like that's how, like pew. And if you need to, slice, mace, shoot, then run like all hell. Learn how to run them high heels, girl. Like, cause if you with me, I'm grabbing you by the arm, and the first chance I get, I'm splitting. Like, I'm not gonna fight.
You gotta be able to keep up too, cause I might be leaving.
We dragging you.
Didn't nobody put them heels on today. I'm wearing sneakers.
We know it's toxicity out here. You should have been ready to go.
Come on, girl.
But
are you down or are you down?
Are you down? Let's run. So seriously, I think more women should. But a lot of people, guns are a touchy subject for some people. And if guns aren't your thing, carry a mace. Yeah. I think knives are harder to carry. I think it's harder to try to, like, I could, ugh.
Yeah, if you got switchblade.
I mean, that's a lot of complications.
Yeah, mace is probably the best bet.
Yeah.
It's legal in most places. And it's going to help keep you safe. And
legally in most states, as a woman, most people won't be prosecuted for macing an assailant. Yeah. Now, you shoot somebody, we got a lot of paperwork.
Right. Now you're like, I don't know.
If we shoot, it is split. You ready to go? Get your keys out. Don't be pumping your gas at night. Y'all should know this. Don't be going to the ATMs at night. Yeah. Don't know which girls you going with. Don't go out with the one girl that you know you're gonna leave you. Don't go out with the one girl that you know you're gonna have to save her. Like, that girlfriend be the worst. Like, girl, no. Because if we all in danger trying to rescue you, like, know who you out with. Yeah. All kinds of shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think moral of the story is, like, the qualm really is toxicity. And the moral of the story is be aware. Be aware of your own traits, your own toxic traits, and you know, and hold yourself and the people around you accountable, because that's how you literally save lives.
Literally.
Like, you might think, like, oh, my man's, you know, that thing he did, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Like, maybe that instance it wasn't. But, like, when you get away with behavior that's, you know, not that big of a deal, you know, that shit can escalate and turn into real life, like, life-threatening situations.
Absolutely.
So, please.
And don't be toxic. Recognize your own. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself. Respect other people's space and wishes. Like, if you're saying or doing something, no matter. Consent. And you can be male, female, trans, toxic, man. Boom. I don't care what your gender preference or whatever is. Like, if you are getting feedback from a stranger or a person that feels like, and they're telling you they're uncomfortable, just respect that. Now's not the time to be like, I ain't scaring you. That's not the time.
Internally and be like, ooh,
yeah, what did I do?
Like, make this person feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself.
Yeah. So don't be toxic.
Don't be toxic.
And that's that on that, folks. Thanks for listening, guys. We're pretty far into our season.
Oh my gosh.
Stay tuned for updates on our Instagram at Queers and Qualms. We'll be posting about more episodes, some of the stuff that we have coming up.
Please.
So stay tuned. Subscribe to our website at queersandqualms.com.
And please rate us on Spotify. That really helps us a lot when you guys rate us. And Spotify is tricky. Don't be just rating us just because. You have to listen. And if you got this far, that means you can rate this episode right now.
Yes, you can. Yep, and we appreciate y'all as always. We'll see you in a few. Thanks for listening.
Peace. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors. We've got Hot Heat Sneakers. They've got the best J's, Yeezys, Off-Whites, all the hot deals on all the hot kicks. Follow them at Hot Heat Sneakers at Instagram and hotheatsneakers.com.
Our music is brought to you by Chibuguzo, a Maryland local alternative and R&B band. You can like and follow them at Chibuguzo on Instagram. That's at CHIBUGUZO 301. And like, share, subscribe, and as always, see you next time.
You know what I give to you, know what I meant to you. Ooh, what I give. Don't need you on your knees, baby, please, babe. Just need you put some work, let it flourish, babe. We both from different worlds, but it works, babe. Been working on my own, I'm in a good place. Right now I don't need a relationship, no. But if you in a relationship, you gotta give. Yeah, you gotta take and then receive it, yeah. Cause sometimes I just need stress relief, babe. Don't be my little headache, be my peace, babe. Don't be my little headache, be my peace, babe. Know what I give to you, know what I meant to you. Ooh. You can use your heart. You can use your heart. Only if you want to. You can use your heart. You can use your heart. Only if you want to. Hey, what's for you, stay with you. What's meant for you, stay with you. Always, always.